Thank you. How about that for a way to start an event, huh? I think I can safely say, though it's not my country to welcome you to, welcome to Rwanda, because it feels like a boat that we've all come on, a ship that represents this country, that has a piece of the culture. Our president, his first lady, the minister of culture here, and we are all invited to take a trip tonight. And it looks like it's going to be quite a time. Tonight is about one thing in particular, and everybody's shown up because it's a big beginning to a big project, the Rwanda Cinema Center. It's called Three Voices, a focus on Rwanda. I'm glad to be here to host this special event during the Tribeca Film Festival and to help showcase the work of some of Rwanda's newest filmmakers. This is a brand new thing in Rwanda. This was never possible. You never had the training, you never had the things, the cameras, the various things needed to do a film center. You can do a theater center anywhere because it's about telling stories, but you need equipment and you need knowledge to make films. These young artists come to us directly from the Rwanda Cinema Center, which is an organization supported by the Rwandan government to help the nation develop a viable film industry to start healing and rebuilding after the 1994 genocide. The mission of the Rwanda Cinema Center is something the Tribeca Film Festival supports wholeheartedly because the founders of the festival know that the power of film to help restore hope to communities in crisis is a major one. In fact, they began this after 9/11 to help the downtown area begin to recover after the devastating World Trade Center attacks, something I'm very familiar with. My son was at school, in elementary school, 5 blocks north of the center, and saw the plane go over. He was also born 5 weeks before the events in Rwanda, and as I sat taking care of my son, I saw the images on television of what was going on, and I was overwhelmed thinking, what is this and what can we do? And of course, the story is known to all of us. We did not enough. We did very little. And we're trying to turn things around in our hearts and our spirits and reconnect with these people who deserve so much, from one of the smallest countries in the world all the way to the United States and everything that we have to offer. We firmly believe that art and self-expression can help people and nations recover from trauma. We're all recovering in one way or another, and I think we've all come today in fellowship to begin that process. But the Film Festival is hardly the only supporter of this extraordinary effort. This event is so compelling it's brought together some of the world's most prominent people in music, media, film, and politics to the New York Academy of Art to join us and our 3 young filmmakers tonight. We've also got some amazing speakers to kick off the show. You will find out specifically who in a moment. But to make the introductions and put myself into the picture in every way, a friend who actually worked on one of my first films ever, and the first time I ever got to Africa, playing, you may not recognize me because I don't have my full beard. If you remember the day Christ died, I mean, you weren't there that day. We did a film based on the Jim Bishop book. And the person I'm about to introduce was one of the producers of that from CBS, and I played the disciple Peter. I was the founder of the Catholic Church. Don't hold me responsible. Anyway, it was my first time to Africa. We shot in Monastir, Tunisia, only a week after I had seen the opening of Life of Brian. And we shot on many of the same locations. Anyway, I would like to welcome a very important person to the stage, an old friend and a bigwig around Tribeca especially, Tribeca Film Festival co-founder Jane Rosenthal. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of my co-founders, Robert De Niro and my husband, Craig Hatkoff, who is right here, I want to welcome you here to Tribeca this evening. The Tribeca Film Festival has had a tradition of working with cultural partners from around the globe who add invaluable richness to the power of film as a source of healing, a source of introspection, and a look through the lens of some of the greatest filmmakers. We have been fortunate in the past to have Nelson Mandela and Archbishop Desmond Tutu join us as special guests at the festival. Our opening year, Nelson Mandela even brought along a friend of his and ours who you'll meet in a few minutes. But tonight, I have the privilege of introducing a new cultural partner for the festival, the Republic of Rwanda. And here with us is the man who is widely credited with restoring stability and bringing hope to this divided nation, and who must oversee a process of reconciliation. Perhaps film will become one of the most potent tools to help rebuild trust, community, and forgiveness. We'll see some clips shortly from 3 promising Rwandan filmmakers as a testament to the power of film. And now it is my distinct honor and privilege to introduce to you the President of the Republic of Rwanda, His Excellency Paul Kagame.
President Clinton, Jane Rosenthal, the founders of Tribeca Film Festival, friends of Rwanda, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is a happy occasion to have you all here with us this evening, members of the cinema fraternity and colleagues from the other fields, visiting and sharing time with our friends in the United States of America is something that we always look forward to. This particular evening has a special significance. We are here to celebrate both the emerging Rwandan film industry and the Rwandan youth that are largely responsible for its development. I therefore thank you all very much for being with us and wish you a wonderful evening of entertainment and discussion. Dear friends, the story of the Rwandan film industry is essentially the story of Rwanda itself. The two are indistinguishable in several senses. Determination to create something new in insurmountable circumstances, resilience, and international collaboration. When the young visionaries sought to establish film industry in our country, they found that there was no expertise, equipment, or even a culture of viewing, let alone making movie pictures in Rwanda. Undeterred, the founders of Rwandan film industry sought to simultaneously promote young filmmakers and a cinema culture for appreciating the finished product. Dozens of films have since been made and shown in open-air markets, stadiums, and bus stations to hundreds of thousands of Rwandans across our country in the past 5 years. This came about through commitment, resilience, and determination to achieve a shared purpose. Excellencies, friends, this is also the story of our country. At the end of the genocide of 1994, with over 1 million lives wasted and most institutions in shambles, the chances for reconstructing a functional society and state were judged by some people to be slim. Debate about Rwanda's future prospects as a nation revolved around containing another failed African state. Like the Rwandan filmmakers, however, there were people in our country who believed that something new could be born. Most Rwandans and their leaders believed that a reconciled, democratic, and prosperous country in which both women and men had stake was an achievable goal. 13 years on, Rwanda has made modest achievements in that direction, thanks to the dedication of the Rwandan people, and our objective is to quicken the pace of socio-economic transformation for greater and shared prosperity in our country. Dear friends, I noted earlier the importance of international collaboration in reference to the Rwandan filmmakers. Once again, this is the Rwandan story in general. What we have achieved in our country in the last 13 years is in part due to the friendships and partnerships we have nurtured across the globe, in the United States of America, in Europe, in Asia, and indeed in Africa itself. These partnerships are vital for expanding our economy and for consolidating our national institutions. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me highlight the fact that we now have highly motivated Rwandans skilled in key fields of film industry. That we are here at the Tribeca Film Festival to sample some of their productions is testimony to this very fact. We are determined to integrate this emerging industry into Rwanda's socio-economic mainstream. In this respect, we look forward to working with investors to render Rwanda a stimulating venue for film production and appreciation. In conclusion, I thank you all once again for joining us this evening. Special thanks goes to FBI Productions for organizing this event tonight. I once again thank you very much. Thank you. I wish you enjoyable evening.
Thank you so much, President Kagame. Our next guest is someone my family and I have had a great privilege to know and spend time with, and who has taught us many lessons. He's taught us that we must have time to think and to reflect. And he's taught us that we must learn to listen and to see. And quite honestly, that's exactly what we try to do here at a film festival. I mean, that's really what a film festival is all about. It's a time to think, a time to reflect, a time to listen, and a time to see. Our next guest has also taught us that while everyone in the world doesn't have to like each other, they do have to learn how to get along. And that sometimes hatred can blind, but that, as Nelson Mandela told him, you just have to let it go. There's no need for me to sit here and tell you about his accomplishments in his elected life. As the president, is probably the greatest president, or I think as the greatest president of the United States. But how proud are we of what he has accomplished in his post-political life as head of the Clinton Global Initiative? The Clinton Global Initiative is absolutely breathtaking. It's a clearinghouse in a marketplace of ideas for philanthropy and good works across the globe. There seems to be a new world government already under his leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so proud and so honored to have here with us tonight President William Jefferson Clinton.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Jane, Craig, Mr. President, Madam First Lady. Ladies and gentlemen, we are here tonight, make no mistake about it, because of one of humanity's great failures at the end of the 20th century, and one of my personal failures. For the world did not intervene to try to stop the Rwandan genocide. And in breathtaking fashion, it was over in 90 days. The man you just heard from is the real reason it was over. He and his forces stopped it. And then when he could have taken power in a military coup, he instead opted for democracy and served first as the country's vice president. I first went to Rwanda in part to apologize for my failure to do what I could to stop the genocide in 1998. And President Kagame was still the vice president. I asked if they would gather some survivors to meet with me. I never met 6 more amazing people in my life. One woman in particular I remember because she was so beautiful and seemed to have no scars. One person had an arm cut off, others were heavily marked, and she said she was unmarked because when she was attacked, having been betrayed by her neighbors, she was given the machete blows on her back and left for dead, and she woke in a pool of her own blood to find her husband and 6 children lying dead around her. She said, I screamed out to God in anger that I had been spared, and then I realized I must have been spared for a reason that could not be something as mean as vengeance. So I do what I can to help us begin again. What she could do was to help orphan children find homes without regard to their ethnic background. She is a model for the kind of country President Kagame has tried to build. When I went back after I left office, I went to one of the reconciliation villages they set up where Hutus and Tutsis got land and houses, but they had to agree to live side by side. And I saw 2 women holding hands. One had lost her husband and brother in the genocide. The other's husband was awaiting war crimes tribunal action as a war criminal. They were neighbors holding hands. I saw children dancing together across the previous divide for the first time since 1994 and 2001. And I've been back several times since. We work there now, my foundation does, at the request of the president, helping them to deal with HIV and AIDS and build a rural health network with Dr. Paul Farmer and Partners in Health, and with a development initiative along with Tom Hunter, a Scottish philanthropist, which helps people in the poor area of rural Rwanda, about 500,000 of them, to improve their agricultural livelihoods. We had a 340% increase in the maize crop last year. I'm very proud of that. And this place where people were hungry now has a surplus and has been asked by the president to store the food and to avert hunger in other parts of the country. This is an astonishing place. Time before last, when I was there, I went through the Holocaust Memorial. It's on a hillside outside Kigali. Some of you have seen it. And I was honored to try to help raise the funds to finish it. this really eloquent young man took me through. He was a handsome, articulate fellow, and it's a gripping thing if you ever get a chance to see it. So we get about halfway through the tour, and I said, "Did you lose anybody?" He said, "Oh, yes, my parents, my brother, and my sister-in-law." He went through, and I said, "How many in total?" He said, "Down to my first cousin, 73. I said, "This must be hard for you." He said, "No, it's therapeutic. Don't you see we have to begin again?" And I said to him, "You remind me of this woman I met on my first trip." And I told him the story about the woman, and he smiled and he said, "Well, I should. She's my aunt." I tell you that because it's a little country, and there are lots of stories like that. These young people who are dancing for us and playing tonight, the people whose movies you will see, it's an astonishing place. President Kagame sort of said in passing, because he's a modest man, that everybody assumed Rwanda would be a failed state. Consider the miracle that they have already achieved. It is far from a failed state. It's one of the most well-organized, disciplined, forward-looking places, not just in Africa, but among all the developing countries of the world. And he's gone out of his way to make partnerships, to convince people like me, although I didn't need any. I'm still doing it because I want to and I need to. But convince all kinds of people just to come in and help the Rwandans to build a future. These young filmmakers are part of that future. They're not just trying to build an economy, they're trying to build a modern political system and a modern, rich culture rooted in who they are, without denying where they have been, looking toward where they can go and what they can become. It is a thoroughly astonishing place, well led, but also a place that has lessons to teach us all. Whatever resentments we harbor in our heart, they pale by the side of what the average Rwandan could carry around and be consumed by every day. They are a lesson in letting go and going on. I hope tonight they'll help us all to learn it well. Thank you very much.
Thought I was lost. This is a hard act to follow, a couple of presidents and the founder of the Tribeca Film Festival. But I've worked with children and dogs on stage, and they say you should never do that. I can rise to the occasion. There are some amazing people here among you as well. There are great leaders, but there are also great leaders of all sorts of different organizations. I know we have film directors here. I know we have organizational leaders of touristic groups, other governmental groups, Aegis Foundation, which works with promoting greater knowledge about genocide around the world and was part of creating the Gisozi Memorial Center. I was very fortunate and honored to attend the 10-year commemoration and to be at the lighting of the flame that you did, the ceremonial flame at the Gisozi Center, and probably one of the great moments I will ever experience. It is a new beginning. It is a chance to take something that seems impossible and create. And that brings it back to them. That's what this is about. They are using their voices. They are learning to use a different venue that travels now around the world. The traditional storytelling of Rwanda was oral, was verbal. The written word did not arrive until it came with the White Fathers in 1900. And then it was taught to promote not only learning of other things, but of course bringing with it the Bible. But the Rwandan traditional storytelling is an oral tradition. Theater, as I come from. And now we're moving into a time where they can tell their stories on film, and all of the stories, not just of the genocide, but the human stories that are so recognizable of neighbors, Hutu or Tutsi, who are neighbors, and you go, those are neighbors like I have neighbors. These are problems the way I have problems. These are families the way I have families. And that's the great reach. And on top of that, as they're learning that trade, they're able to man the international film community that's coming in to make use of this incredible beauty, this Switzerland of Central Africa, and build an industry that can stand with any other location in the world as a fantastic, positive, and well-supported place for people to make movies. So this is the beginning. You're there. Let's enjoy it. We have just heard from these two presidents and a festival founder, and we've got an incredibly exciting second act coming up because we're about to showcase some films and filmmakers that have never before been seen in America. These filmmakers received their training at the Rwanda Cinema Center, which is dedicated to fostering a thriving film industry, as I said, on Rwandan soil. You just saw a film by the Rwanda Film Cinema Center that shows Rwanda has already served as a location for these many well-known and incredibly powerful films. There is a story that not many people seem to have known, but reading Rosamund Halsey Carr's book, she talks about in the 50s, the first time when they shot King Solomon's Mines, they showed it in the jungles near Goma. They took a huge screen out, apparently, and she was there. She was the only American, other than working with the film, who was there, and she said it was, all of a sudden, 3 stories high, people saw their stories being told. Now it's coming all the way around, and today that's possible again. They're now taking these inflatable screens into locations where they don't have cinema houses. They don't have any other way to show these. The clip you saw was titled Hillywood, to show that Rwanda has been a fantastic location for filmmakers, and with the help of the Rwanda Cinema Center, it is getting easier every day to film there. Our 3 filmmakers are developing their unique voices through the Rwanda Cinema Center and its initiatives. The center's focus is on youth, which makes sense, and all our filmmakers tonight are in their 20s. They all lived through the time of the genocide, and yet each has a completely different story to tell. I watched them this afternoon. It's a wonderful sample of 3 very different films and 3 remarkably familiar films, because the stories that are being told, I thought, yeah, I saw one like that about some people in Kansas. Or yeah, that's Romeo and Juliet. Or yeah, I saw a documentary told in this way about education that was about Appalachia. They're the same stories, but being told from their hearts, from their experience. Let's start with the first of tonight's 3 voices, Gilbert Ndayo. Gilbert is a 25-year-old history and English major at Kigali Institute of Education. He joined Rwanda Cinema Center to help realize his life's dream of becoming a filmmaker, and is currently chief editor there. He's also an actor and portrayed the unforgettable character Sago in The Graduation Day, a docudrama on drug abuse among East Africa's youth. He's also directed and edited several short films, including Scars of Silver and Behind This Convent, a powerful documentary about the murder of his parents and 200 other people who sought refuge in a convent during the genocide. But it is the short film Scars of My Days that earned him the First Time Filmmaker Award in 2006 at the 3rd Amakula International Film Festival in Kampala. Now, despite its title, Scars of My Days does not deal with genocide, but rather he's using the metaphor of the scars borne by migrant people forced to make difficult choices as they struggle to earn money and survive. Let's take a look.
Aha navukiye ndakunda kandi nkakunda no kwakina umupira ariko ubuzima bwaho burananiye ngiye gushaka ubuzima mu mujyi. ngo ngwiki ihangane rwose simuceguye mbabarira wisiga mbabara witsi simuce
fata vora neza gutya kandi reba ruguru
kuguha akazi ukagira intwaro nta mushoferi mfite
njya nkugira ni nijoro
Sabrina fungura igikoko ubikorera igikoko
ubuzima buragoye byose narabibonye ariko ngomba kubaho
Ladies and gentlemen, Gilbert Ndayo.
Your Excellency, President Paul Kagame, First Lady, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure for me to be here tonight to share my experiences with you. I have confessions to make. It is only after the genocide that I started seeing people carrying cameras, sometimes big, sometimes small. I remember that at that time, after the genocide, 1 year after the genocide, I used to run away from these people. I also remember that I used to ask myself a lot of questions. What are these people doing? 2 years ago, I joined Rwanda Cinema Center to explore these horizons of storytelling. Rwanda Cinema Center is the only place in Rwanda whereby one can go and learn how to make a film. At the beginning, I was very, very impressed and excited to use these new techniques to create, to reinvent. I ended up by being absorbed by the power of films and how to use them. Making a film in Rwanda is not only to enjoy the freedom of expression that is guaranteed by the law and our government. For me, it's beyond that. It is a way to contribute to economic and social growth of my country using the only way that I've learned, film artwork. Being able to see your own image, to listen to your own story is very important in the global arena whereby communities and individuals exist because their images are vivid. An image can say more than 1,000 words. My first film mentors were Swedish, and they asked me to always bear in mind about which words you want your image to tell. This question is following me every day in my life, especially when I write my screenplays and direct an action on the field. My films are based on true stories in the society, and they contain literature, poetry, and humor. Scars of My Days, you've just seen the clips, was my first film story. It is a story of struggle for life, and it's a story for people who are looking for a decent livelihood in the era of urban pooling effects. Today, for sure, even if it is at a slow pace, the culture of cinema is growing in my country. We have come here to expose it not only to the Rwandans who are present here, but also to the rest of the world. Tonight, we are honored to be here with our president, and for me and my colleagues here, it is a sign that we have full support of the entire country as we are embarking in this journey of filmmaking. Today, after 13 years after genocide, we need anything that can help to heal and develop the country. So why not a film industry? I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Gilbert. It's a beautiful film, Gilbert. Really a beautiful film, and I hope all get a chance to see these three. Our next filmmaker, Thierry Dushimirimana, was born in 1980 in Burundi, the nation just south of Rwanda. Since 2002, he has been active as a filmmaker. Just as scars were a recurring theme for Gilbert, love resurfaces in Thierry's work. In his first film, About Love, and his second film, A Love Letter to My Country, and now this film won special mention at the International Festival of Short Films, Abidjan, in the Ivory Coast. And as a result, Thierry was invited to the Berlin Talent Campus, as well as to the Cape Town World Film Festival. In A Love Letter to My Country, a young couple of vastly different backgrounds struggles with intolerance. One is Hutu, one is Tutsi. It's beyond the genocide now, but it's about how soon and how fast and how long it takes people, takes the whole society to come to terms with reconciliation. What seems to be the impossibility of their love in post-genocide Rwanda. The film, in a Romeo and Juliet scenario, asks whether this couple can build a shared understanding and experience, or whether it is too soon to find a common ground that will save them. Let's take a look at that now.
uyu munsi tugiye kwigira hamwe igika cya kabiri cy'isomo ry'amateka y'igihugu cyacu. Mbere yo gutangira isomo rero, nagira ngo umuntu waba afite icyazi ku mateka y'iki gihugu agire icyo atubwira. Marta, ntacyo uvuga?
Mufite ahantu heza, mfite n'inzu nziza.
Yari inzu y'ababyeyi banjye bapfuye muri jenoside. Hari umuhungu turirimbana.
Nk'uko barebeshanya sinshaka kongera umukazana w'umutuzikazi mu rugo.
basi wanze kumbabarira abana twabyaranye ndakwinginze uzabamenye uzabiteho uzabarere neza
ntabwo ari abatutsi nkawe ti ugomba kumenya ko ari amaraso yanjye ibyo urabyumva neza
uzabasigarane neza
wanyemerera nkagira ikibazo mubaza wari uri kumwe nabo cyangwa wari uri he
imana ni nziza imana ni nziza imana ni nziza
ko bwa mbere nkikubona wageze umutima
usanga se kubazwa iby'ibibazo n'ibyaha yatewe n'imirimo
ibintu by'ingenga ibitekerezo n'ibyo ngibyo ntabwo bigikora
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you Cherry Dushimirimana.
Your Excellency, President Paul Kagame and First Lady, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is with a great pleasure that I present my film to you tonight, A Love Letter to My Country at Tribeca Film Festival. The main purpose of making this film was to give a message of tolerance and peace and reconciliation to the whole world, but mainly to the people of my country. To write a love letter to them about the vital need for reconciliation and to put an end forever to all ethnic-related ideologies and divisions. Before 1994, there were very few intermarriages. They were looked upon as abominations, a sin before God. But now, 13 years after the genocide, the roots of forgiveness and acceptance are beginning to grow in the fertile red soil of Rwanda, and even the intermarriage integrity arise. My film is about Romeo and Juliet love story, and I hope you enjoy the clip. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Cherry. And now our third and final filmmaker of the evening, Pierre Cayetana. Pierre is a self-taught computer expert who is at the helm of the emerging technology industry in Rwanda. He was born in 1986 in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I have pants older than that. He returned home to Rwanda in early 1999, where he embarked on his great passion for cinema by training in documentary filmmaking at the Rwanda Cinema Center. He has since coordinated many different productions. He has also worked on a Canadian production of the film Shake Hands with the Devil, based on the UN Peacekeeping Force Commander Romeo Dallaire's book and directed by Roger Spottiswoode, internationally known director whose films include the James Bond classic Tomorrow Never Dies. In addition, Pierre leads all the operations of the Rwanda Film Festival. Pierre's first film, produced under the auspices of the Rwanda Cinema Center, is a documentary that addresses issues of education in Rwanda today, and it's called Behind These Walls.
Ce qu'on cherche, on voudrait avoir un bon diplôme pour avoir un meilleur emploi. On essaye.
À mon école, on avait accès à Internet gratuitement, on avait des cours d'informatique, on avait en tout cas accès facile au matériel informatique et surtout Internet.
Now it's time to introduce our final filmmaker, Pierre Cayetana.
Your Excellency, President Paul Kagame, First Lady of Rwanda, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I feel honored and humbled to stand here today sharing with you my experience making films. I'm 20 years old and proud to be Rwandan. I learned at a very young age to work hard. I learned computer on my own, and I'm proud today to be a non-certified yet, but a very justified computer network and graphic designer who made support and services for many companies in Rwanda, including our organization, the Rwanda Cinema Center. I joined the Rwanda Cinema Center in 2005 during the first Films on Youth by Youth training program. And I came out of that training with my first film that you have just seen the clip for behind these walls about education in Rwanda, the challenges, but also the progress that the country have made. And this year, I'm proud to proclaim to be the youngest film festival coordinator on the continent. And maybe in the world. I coordinated our third film festival this year, 60 films from 25 countries around the globe, with an attendance of more than 40,000 people. I've committed myself to helping the others, especially the youth. And I've learned the most important IT and filmmaking principles that are used these days. However, I want to learn more, and I want to learn every day. I want to bring an innovative approach to the local ICT and film industry. This way, bringing together the best of art and technology. I want to create a multimedia thinking approach to the way business is done in Rwanda in order to keep up with the rest of the world and don't get left behind. I want to be the pioneer and innovator of the multimedia industry in Rwanda. My goal is to help the Rwandan community to grow economically by exploring and fostering the use of digital media to build and improve real communities in a connected society. What better way to achieve this than using films and information technology? The Rwanda Cinema Center and our Hollywood program and films has introduced the culture of cinema in Rwanda, but also exposed our country to the rest of the world while telling our own stories and from our own perspectives. I'm proud to be part of the Rwanda Cinema Center team. I will not end this without thanking all of you who made this trip and this amazing week possible, starting with our President, His Excellency Paul Kagame, the Rwanda Cinema Center, our country through the different departments, and of course, our friends at FBI Productions. And last but not least, our host, the Tribeca Film Festival. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the future Bill Gates of Rwanda. Jane, if you could take notes when you need funding for the Tribeca Film Festival, I think he's going to be handling it. Whoa. Yeah. They'll be building the planes around his entertainment systems. Want to see them? Sure. Now, just so you know, this seems exciting enough. These voices are the emerging voices coming out now. There are younger ones, believe it or not, even younger behind them who will learn with them and from them and next to them. Hopefully this will be ongoing, and we will see this grow and grow and more stories and more stories. But now it gets really exciting because we're going to meet the man who made it all happen to begin with. These filmmakers would not be here tonight without the next speaker. He is a friend of mine who last came to see me at the Public Theater playing a president. I was George Walker. No, not Walker. George Bush. Not the older one. He was, you know. I'm still president, you're not. But enough for entertainment. He is an acclaimed Rwandan filmmaker who produced the first feature film on the Rwandan genocide and many other documentaries on the subject, including the award-winning documentary Keepers of Memory, a very, very moving film. And the first time that any of us got to see things from the Rwandan perspective. He realized that not only does he need to share his story about his country with the rest of the world, but with his own countrymen, and especially with the youth of his nation. And that's what tonight is about, and that's what the Rwanda Cinema Center is about. He is the founder of the Rwanda Cinema Center. Please help me welcome my friend, Mr. Eric Kabera. There you go.
Whoa, what a wonderful night. Very, very exciting. I'm so pleased. I'm so happy. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to thank once again the President of the Republic of Rwanda and the First Lady to have made the trip purposely for this. His Excellency the President, when I met him about a month ago, I put the request quietly saying, we will kindly need to have you at this important event. And I'm very, very proud and I'm very, very pleased that you made it and you brought many of your friends during this evening. Last time when I felt the same way was about 3 years ago when I rolled up the inflatable screen that you saw on our screen here in a town called Nyagatare, it's the eastern province of Rwanda, and I saw about 5,000 people watching a film in Kinyarwanda made by the young men and women from the Rwanda Cinema Center. Simply, I did not have anybody to speak to like I'm doing now. I cried. It was so intense. I needed it so bad because I would travel from Toronto, Cape Town, Milan, Ouagadougou. You would see a film about Rwanda. You will see a film talking about your own story, and you'll go back and shoot your own people, yet they will not see anything. We only have one television station. Less than 1% of our population can afford and see TV, and that's the driving force for me and my entire fantastic team to do what we're doing. So once again, I cannot say it better than my team. There's nothing most rewarding than working with the guys that you've just seen here. They're the sample of the driving force of our country. We spend 2 weeks going from east, west, north, south, showing films in the hills of Rwanda. And that's why it is known as Rwanda Hollywood, because it's the land of 1,000 hills. It's not a simple fact of coining it after Hollywood, but truly speaking, I only invite you to come next year for the 4th International Rwanda Film Festival, and you're going to love it, I can tell you. One more time, I would like to thank everybody who made this event possible. Jennifer, Jen Rosenthal, John, Jackie, Nganji, you just did an amazing work. And again, I would not end without saying this. Tribeca Film Festival, next year I'm coming back. I'm coming back with my films. I'm coming back with more films from Rwanda. And I'm proud to be associated to this fantastic event. I'm proud to keep doing the small things that I do. And it cannot get more rewarding than just showing the films in the hills. And all of a sudden, in New York, at the Tribeca, they say, come and show us. Come and show us what you've done. Thank you very much all, and God bless.
Thank you. Jean-Paul, I wanted you to know, is the recent winner, just now, of the first place prize in the International Songwriting Competition out of Nashville. His song, congratulations, which is a great honor for Rwanda, as he said, to come from such a small country and be recognized by the entire world, which is what tonight is all about. His song, Psalm 100, is written in the 5/8 style that is traditional to Rwanda, and as he says, only in Rwanda can they dance to 5/8. Now, you thought it was getting good. We have another special guest tonight, someone I have admired all my life, and I know, imagine most of you have, a man who is a major figure in the civil rights movement of our country, and henceforth a connection directly to Africa and all things Africa. He has brought great things working with Martin Luther King to us. He has brought great things to us as the ambassador. He is a personal friend of President Paul Kagame. He is Ambassador Andrew Young. His resume is formidable. Former congressman, mayor of Atlanta, United Nations ambassador, civil rights leader, and top aide to Reverend Martin Luther King. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm a preacher, but this is not preaching time. But it was because, I think, of my preaching that I fell in love with Africa. And I was headed to Africa as a missionary when I was sidetracked by Martin Luther King and ended up in Georgia. But I've never lost that interest in Africa because more than 50 million of our spirits and souls left the African continent to come to America. And most didn't make it. In fact, only about 4 million ended up in the United States. And 5 million have come to the United States since 1970, simply because of the difficulties, the problems growing out of years of colonialism and exploitation and all of the things you know bad about Africa. And yet when my partner Carl Masters went to the wedding of Yamina Karatani, one of our young staff people, he came back and he said, "You can't believe it. You must go." And I didn't want to go because I love Africa and I cope with all of the difficulties and problems of Africa all of the time. And I just didn't think I could take the horror of Rwanda. And yet when I went, I came back and I wanted everybody to go. And so this is a film made for Americans. It's made for Americans to give you some of the good news of Africa. Oh, yes, I love Blood Diamonds and The Last King of Scotland, and even Hotel Rwanda served its purpose. But that's not the Africa we visit. And we in Good Works International spend at least half of our time on the African continent. And I say we've never had a bad experience. The purpose of this film is to make you want to go. Because if you go to Rwanda as a tourist, you come back and you bring your children and your friends and your relatives. You come back again and you begin to see how your business can invest in Rwanda. And you begin to see that Africa is, both spiritually, economically, and politically, the hope of the 21st century, thanks to President Paul Kagame and the people of Rwanda.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Andrew Young. Now, he is also a Hope Global spokesman. He's got a lot to say about Rwanda, as you can hear. And where he's saying it is in this film, Rwanda Rising, a film he made that documents the country's remarkable story of reconciliation after the 1994 genocide. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look.
It was over so quickly. In just 100 days, nearly 1 million people were killed by neighbors who somehow became strangers. Otherwise decent people, who even now, well over a decade later, still can't believe that they could have been a part of such a thing.
Hello, I'm Andrew Young, and I've been privileged to serve this nation as a congressman, mayor of Atlanta, United Nations ambassador, first of all as a pastor and leader of the civil rights movement. But now I want to tell you about Africa and some of the things that we are learning about peace and prosperity on the continent.
Even our fellow, some few fellow pastors, they had actually turned their mind from God, they had turned their back from God.
When he became a Catholic priest as a young man, Father Elias Kiwanuku expected his faith to be tested. Never, he says, could he have imagined what would be asked.
I couldn't think that in my life there would be genocide. This was something that actually surprised us, all of us. Actually, they say it in a way that even Satan was surprised because it was beyond consideration. I never imagined that. I never imagined genocide in my life.
Father Kiwanuku fled Rwanda with his friend, a fellow priest named Ame Rukanika, who was lucky enough to be warned of a vote taken by his community, a vote to kill him.
They held a meeting in which they decided those that would be killed. Someone told me that during that meeting, it was said I was one of the people that was targeted because they saw me as someone who had the means to help the rebels. This person said to me, "If you know what's good for you, run away from here."
We saw houses being burnt, people being persecuted, running, screaming, crying, hiding here and there.
Why did this happen? How could this happen? These are questions without answers, questions that speak to the recent past. It's in the here and now that an even greater mystery is unfolding.
The first question that was raised was how, as a priest, was I going to preach in a place where there had been so much killing, in a place where Hutus killed Tutsis? Was I going to be able to come across to them?
The two priests who returned to Rwanda after surviving the genocide now serve a small parish in the town of Gitarama. The members of their congregation are both Hutu and Tutsi, perpetrators and victims from the same community.
My first challenge is spiritual challenge, that people are wounded internally. Really, to heal them is a long process.
Yet by all appearances, the people of Rwanda are not merely coexisting. They are living together. Many have learned to forgive the unforgivable. And if such a thing can happen here, of all places, why can't it happen anywhere?
I admire them enormously. Somehow in their wisdom, they know that the only way to really recover is to let go. And the only way to really honor the dead is to live.
Former President Bill Clinton says the genocide of 1994 is his single greatest regret. The world ignored what was happening here until it was too late. Yet, against all odds, tiny landlocked Rwanda, roughly the size of Maryland, is becoming a model of prosperity on the African continent. Mr. President, are you surprised at the degree of reconciliation and progress in just over a decade?
Well, I would be if I just knew it from the outside, but having known the Rwandans, I'm not.
Everywhere there's a sense of energy, a sense of change, a sense of things happening, a sense of new beginning.
For us to move forward in building a new nation of Rwanda, we have to create a situation where everybody is a winner. We don't want losers. Once you have losers, then you have problems.
Rwanda's new constitution guarantees there are no losers. The Constitution ensures a balance of power between political parties and makes it impossible for either Hutu or Tutsi to control the government.
I never cease to be shocked by the way the Hutus and the Tutsis live together in these reconciliation villages. The stories they have of their experiences during that horrible period and their refusal to let it shape the rest of their lives.
What I wouldn't want people to take for granted, these things just didn't happen. There has been a lot of hard work behind all this. We can't wait for anybody to come and rebuild our nation. And the other thing is to admit and know that the genocide was caused by the Rwandese themselves. And therefore the healing process of Rwanda has got to be done by the Rwandese themselves.
When you came back here and rescued your country from the genocide, could you imagine that you could have gone this far in just about a decade?
No. I think all of us have been surprised by the rate of progress.
But the country's long-term success depends on its newfound prosperity, reaching those who toil at the bottom of the economic ladder as well. Efigenie Makantabana lives near the small town of Gitarama. Each new day is a struggle to overcome the challenges of the present as well as the ghosts of the past. 27 members of Efigenie's family were murdered in the genocide of 1994, including her father. Yet even so, she counts herself among the lucky few in Rwanda. Efigenie's husband survived, as did all 6 of her children. But you went through something very bad.
Yes, and my life is still hard, even today.
Efigenie's mother was killed during the 1959 genocide, but she left her daughter a gift. She taught Efigenie how to weave. This traditional basket is known as an agasaki, but these days it has a new name, the Agasaki Kamahora, or peace basket.
The basket is something that is an ornament, a special ornament that is almost in every Rwandese home. There was a skill to it. But we had always looked at it as an ornament for the home. And it's until His Excellency the President really started challenging all of us people, why aren't you selling this as a special ornament that people can have? Why do we think that Rwanda will only sell coffee, will only sell tea? Why can't we start exporting the basket?
The Agasaki Kamahora is such an important symbol. It appears on Rwanda's national seal, on the country's passport, and on its currency.
This basket has become very, very special because it has gone beyond being a basket. It's a tool for reconciliation, but it's also a tool for Rwanda for image building.
Peace baskets have become an important, if unexpected, part of the Rwandan economy as a new export, second only to coffee. Why do they call them peace baskets?
We call them peace baskets because there was a time in Rwanda when there was no peace. The baskets that were created after the genocide were woven by women who decided to get together for that purpose.
Here in Gitarama, hundreds of women gather to practice this traditional craft, handed down for generations from mother to daughter, perhaps as far back as 1,000 years. You do beautiful work. Painstakingly woven by hand from banana sisal and papyrus, these baskets are among the finest I've ever seen. You say it takes about a week to make this?
It takes a week.
And once a week, these weavers bring the baskets they have completed to market, where Janet and Kubana buys every single one. You have how many women here working every?
Well, at this center, we have 21 cooperatives and we have 1,487 women that meet at this center every week.
Every week?
Yes.
To the women of Gitarama, the work is cathartic.
In fact, because of how hard it has been on us, being able to sit together, especially to weave together, has given us the means to overcome what happened and reduce our problems.
You see, many of these women are widows of the genocide, while many others are married to the men who killed their families. Yet today, they work side by side.
When all the women are together weaving this, it is every Rwandese woman. It doesn't have any ethnic bias, so it is a way of uniting people and saying you're united by a basket.
Weaving baskets gives us the means to get together, so we get to discuss with each other. We get closer to each other and realize we have a lot in common.
John Bosco Bisamana is what you might call a Rwandan stay-at-home father. While his wife goes into town to weave alongside other women of Gitarama every day, he tends to the family's small farm and cares for the 10 children they have together.
I have no problem with letting her go weave those baskets because I know how important those are. So I stay home to take care of our household.
Epigeni's work is a source of great pride. The social interaction is important too. It helps take her mind off her problems. And Epigeni has much to worry about. It was Epigeni's mild-mannered husband, John Bosco Bisamana, who participated in the slaughter of Epigeni's loved ones. And over a decade later, his fate still has not been decided.
He tells me that he wanted to help a person who was in danger, but that he could not. The person still got killed. That's why he has been jailed. He doesn't really tell me. He hasn't given me the whole explanation of what happened. He tells me that that person was being slaughtered and he pleaded. They leave him alone, but they would not. They killed him.
In Rwanda, in every corner and every part, there is a victim and there is a killer. So by virtue of that, then there is bound to be, among the women that are actually weaving, there's bound to be one of the two. But what is so important is that that is put aside and actually say, let's get something uniting us. Let's do something together.
And so Epigeni Mukantabana and Epigeni Mukantawanwi somehow, unbelievably, remain friends.
Normally, to forgive, you have to realize that the dead will not come back. To imprison someone is also not the way to solve problems. The solution has to be found within our communities. The best is to give forgiveness. So a genocide survivor finds out that she should not be angry at the wife of her relative's killer, and the wife also realizes that she should not fear the genocide survivors.
Everybody's thinking about peace, they're thinking about the future, people are thinking about the growth of the economy of this country that will have a profound effect on their development.
Those activities actually are so important that when people become so busy, they come together and they try to forget what happened.
Epigeni sings in the choir of the Catholic Church, where Father Elias Kiwanuku struggles to do more than save souls.
Asking forgiveness to God is very easy, but the problem is to ask forgiveness to your neighbor.
It would be misleading to suggest that something as simple as basket weaving can solve all of Rwanda's problems, and misleading to suggest that everyone in this country has come to terms with what happened.
A problem actually is not among the younger people. The problem is among the elder people. They are the ones with old mentalities. They are the ones with the old political principles, and they are the ones influencing the younger ones. So our target is to teach the younger ones so that when they become better, when they change, they can make a better society rather than old people. Because changing an old person is a problem.
Can history be prevented from repeating itself? These people are not savages. They're no different really than the rest of us. But there are too many of them and too little land. And so for decades, the seeds of genocide continued to grow. It may be worth remembering that the bloodiest war in American history was also a civil war, brother killing brother. Yet from the ashes of that conflict, a new nation arose. And now Rwanda is rising. Something is happening here, something far bigger than one very small country.
I wish that we could have some of that spirit in the Middle East. I wish we could have some of that spirit in other places where there are conflicts that people just can't let go of.
Why is it that these people are talking to one another when there's been very little meaningful dialogue between the peoples of Yugoslavia over a decade after their civil war? What is the difference between Rwanda and the Middle East? Can the rest of us learn something about peace from the Rwandese? In forgiveness and reconciliation, Rwanda has laid a new, strong foundation on which to build. But also, they're learning that the private sector and its creativity and entrepreneurialism is the way to feed the hungry and clothe the naked and heal the sick. I'm Andrew Young. Thank you for sharing Africa with us.
I love Rwanda. I fell in love with it the first time I went, and I've never been the same. Now, let me just summarize in a minute here what you've seen and heard tonight. This is a very unusual country. I've traveled all around the world many, many times. I've worked with leaders in 162 countries over the last 25 years. I've never met a country like Rwanda. And it is a unique country for three reasons that have all been mentioned tonight. Ambassador Young mentioned all three of them in his film. The first is that Paul Kagame is an uncommon leader. He is more than a president. This man is a liberator. And he brought an end to the genocide almost single-handedly with his supporters because the world turned its back, as has been pointed out. This man went against the tide of the world and brought liberation to this country. And when this history is written in the 21st century, the name Paul Kagame will be added to Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and many others who were great leaders. I think I know leaders pretty well. I have met dozens and dozens and dozens of presidents and prime ministers, and this man is an uncommon leader. He's a man of integrity, he's a man of humility, and don't let his soft-spokenness kid you. He's soft-spoken, but he has a backbone of steel. And in all of the countries that I've been in, this year I did on one tour 45,000 miles in 46 days. And this is one of the few countries in the world I've never been asked for a bribe. Now, let me tell you what that says. It says from the top down, we are going to have a nation of integrity. That's incredible. The second thing that makes Rwanda so unique that has been mentioned many, many times tonight is the message of reconciliation. And when the RPF came in and liberated the country, and President Kagame, at that time, who was just a soldier, said, "We will absorb the hurt. Somebody has to stop this madness." And the idea of retaliation, retaliation always leads to escalation. It never solves anything. And he brought this message of reconciliation. The third thing that makes this country great is the character of the people. If you go into a lot of countries, you'll find about half the population just sitting around. The first time I went to Rwanda, I said, you know, Mr. President, everybody in this country is either walking or working, or they're walking to work. It is an amazing place. Now, let me just summarize this. You need to do three things as a result of this evening. First, you need to go. You need to go to Rwanda. You need to see the joy. You need to see the hope that Ambassador Young talked about. You need to see the forgiveness, the reconciliation, the self-reliance, the determination to make the future better. You need to just go and see it for yourself. You will be amazed, not just at the beauty of the country. It is a gorgeous country. But you will be amazed at the people. The second thing you need to do is you need to learn. There are some things you will never learn in America that you will learn in Rwanda. If you want to learn, if you have a hard time forgiving somebody who's hurt you, you need to go to Rwanda. If you have a hard time letting go of the past, you need to go to Rwanda. If you are fed up with the polarization in our country and would like to see a more civil society, you need to go to Rwanda. If you would like to see the only hope, possible hope for the Middle East, and see the attitude that could bring it, you need to go to Rwanda. There are infinite possibilities in little beginnings when God is in it. And it is just like God to say, I think I'll take a little country that the world turned its back on, and I will use it to bless the rest of the world. You need to go, you need to learn, you need to invest. Not because it's a charity case. I can give you 1,000 other charity cases in the world, but because this is an investment. It's a place where you can be stable and you can see growth. Rwanda doesn't need your charity. What it needs is your trust that they are going to build a model not just for this continent of Africa, which I see it as the bright star, but as a model for many, many other places. Because of the character of the people, as a pastor, the church in Rwanda is strong. It's light years ahead in many ways of churches in other places. And so go, learn, listen, and invest. Now let's welcome the National Dance Troupe back, one for the grand finale.